I'm in the 2024 Volvo XC90 T8 Recharge. This Ultimate Edition comes in at over $80,000. And with the XC90 being relatively unchanged the last few years, is it still worth that hefty price tag in this plug-in hybrid? Today we'll find out. Let's start under the hood. Oh, I always forget as I let go of the hood, I always forget how huge Volvo hoods open up. It's got to be quite easy for engineers, or should I say technicians, to work on these Volvo powertrains. And I love the pillow on top of all the Volvo engines, which helps reduce vibration and especially sound coming into the cabin and also coming outside of the engine bay when you're around the vehicle. But it's just so clean. Leave it to Volvo to have just a very clean, minimal, very organized engine bay here. It's absolutely pleasing to the eye, even though most Volvo owners will hardly ever lift the hood here. So this is a 2-liter turbocharged engine. It has over 310 horsepower by itself. You mate that to the electric motor in the rear, which also has a ton of power. That's around 140 horsepower or so. So in combined between this engine that powers the front wheels and the electric motor that powers the rear wheels, we're talking 455 horsepower and over 520 pound-feet of torque. I'm gonna go ahead and play that 0 to 60 for you. .10. The front wheels, like I said, are powered by the engine, but there's also an 8-speed Aishin transmission that connects this engine to the front wheels. And we'll talk about EV range here in a little bit, because this is quite an efficient plug-in hybrid and when you're driving it in fully electric. Now, if you don't want to spend $80K, there are other trim levels of this T8 Recharge around $70K. But if you don't want a plug-in hybrid, you get the mild hybrid XC90s, which come in, let's say around $60,000 if you don't want to be plugging in your XC90. And those have about 300 horsepower. And the hood close here is absolute perfection. Super snappy, fits absolutely perfectly. The build quality on this Volvo is incredible. And it is built in Gothenburg, Sweden. No surprise, that is the homeland and the mother city of this Swedish automaker. All right, of course the doors all sound and slam pretty nicely, at least when you're on the outside. Now this plug-in hybrid, this is where you plug it in. Pretty simple. It charges in about, I don't know, 3 to 4 hours on my level 2 at home. On a level 1, it'd probably take 10 hours, something like that. All right, now for 2024, they killed the dark theme. The dark theme got rid of all this chrome, and it gave you, kind of glossy black accents. Now you only get the bright theme here, which it's fine. I think it still looks really, really nice. Even though this design hasn't changed seemingly for the most part for almost a decade now, the XC90 still has a ton of presence and a ton of, luxury just from the looks of it. It doesn't look dated. It still looks relevant almost a decade later. All right, I haven't seen these wheels on an XC90 before. These are massive 21-inch wheels, and I have to imagine if you have 20-inch wheels, you would have even better electric range and better fuel economy. All right, on the side we have that Recharge badge on that chrome piece, a chrome window surround. I really like this paint color here in the morning sun. It's kind of like a teal, like a light tealish gray. Also for families, we have digital key, or should I say easy access or smart access to each door, which is very fantastic. We'll get into the rear doors and the rear seats here in a little bit. The iconic D-pillar taillights on the Volvo XC90 T8 Recharge, pretty understated here. You're packing 455 horsepower, and of course it is all-wheel drive standard. All right, lifting this up, what do we have? Of course we have nice carpeted inside just about everywhere. Subtle lights on each side, a little 12 volt, 120 watts. It would have been nice to have like a 1500 watt power outlet here, an AC 120 volt, because we're a plug-in hybrid. You have a big battery in the tunnel of the vehicle, and unfortunately we don't have a traditional household plug-in for appliances or charging a laptop, that sort of thing. This does have air ride suspension. You can lower and raise the back if you're loading some heavy objects back here. If I go ahead and push that forward, no, I don't. I forgot I had a car seat in that seat. That's why it was up, but tons of cargo capacity with the seats folded down. Even though at 80K, we don't have auto folding up rear seats. So honestly, I would have to climb in the back here and lift these up. And you can just see how difficult this is for me with one hand. Like, I have to climb in the back of the vehicle. There's no pull tab or anything to pull those seats back up. Underneath here is going to be your charging cable for your level 1 if you don't have a level 2 at home. Brown leather seats, and I took my kids in this vehicle, of course. One of the things I love Volvo is they have a built-in booster seat. Check that out. You don't have to bring your booster seat. Well, I do because I have so many kids, but I wish these built-in booster seats literally were in every single seat in the vehicle, or not up there, right? But at least the second and third row. There we go, slams back down. And if you have a shorter person or smaller child back here, right there, you just slam it in there. There's your built-in booster seat. Absolutely genius. It's one of my favorite things about this XC90 as a family vehicle. Now, these are not perforated back here. I would imagine in the summer they would get pretty hot. They are outboard heated seats, but not ventilated, of course, without that perforation. We have sunshades here. Materials are fantastic. Stitching is pretty good. Nice dark wood here. The Bowers & Wilkins sound system is incredible, and it always has been on the Volvos. Real nice brown material in here as well, and then more of a durable material down here. So let's go ahead and see if I can get into the back seat. And this is one of the things that Volvo has never really improved upon much. At least I have a vent that blows straight into my face. Real nice headliner. My head's touching the ceiling. Definitely not for adults back here, but how many adults are going into the third row of vehicles? Cup holder right here. If I slide over so you can see my leg room, my toes can slide under the seats, and there is a little storage space back here. Honestly, not terrible. I could be stuck back here, but I wouldn't want to be stuck back here for very long. Now, all these seats fold flat like these third row seats, so for loading big objects in here, the XC90 is kind of like a minivan in that regard. All right, if I was sitting in the second row as an adult, well, let's close the door. I have handles up here and stitched very nicely, lots of headroom, good amount of leg room. This is set up for me at just over 6 feet tall. USB-C's back here. Like I said, heated outboard seats. You do have climate control. This small armrest pops up. The world's smallest cup holder is pretty much useless. And so maybe your bigger items would go over here in the side of the door. And you know, the shortest person is probably going to be in this seat, which has that big tunnel here where the batteries for the plug-in hybrid kind of sit. Let's go ahead and pull this into the shade as we go over, you know, the front seat area. And let's go ahead and talk about this door slam. It sounds pretty junky in my opinion. It's the only thing about this car that doesn't hit the luxury mark in my opinion in terms of, I don't know, build quality or satisfaction in terms of how things sound and feel. It just doesn't feel or sound right. Anyways, it's not absolutely terrible. It's just kind of like it reverberates too much. Great materials here, memory seats, Bowers & Wilkins. I do have a massaging seat. This seat over here massages as well as the seat I'm in. 5 different settings. You can control the intensity and the speed. I'll get back into that. It's just a press on the directional pad over there. And then you can also play with the bolstering, the lumbar support, and also the thigh extension. Love all the features here on these Volvo chairs. They're super comfortable. I think they're pretty. Brown's not my first choice, but you can see it kind of pulsating here with the massage going on. But I mean, I am a big sucker for the Volvo wool seats, but those don't have ventilation. These perforated leather seats do, and they are really, really quality premium. And they are firm, but very, very comfortable. I feel like I'm fitting in a nice leather glove. We have that upscale Volvo Swedish crystal here. Looks great. I don't have a wireless phone charger, which seems kind of strange for such a modern vehicle. But like I said, it's starting to show its age in certain ways. and that it doesn't have a phone charger, for example. Inside here, you have a couple of USB-Cs for charging, rubber lined and felt lined. It's pretty nice in there. And I wish Volvo would get rid of this glossy black. There's not a lot of it in the car, but yeah, it collects a lot of dust and fingerprints. We all know about piano black at this point. Bowers & Wilkins sound system, A+. It is fantastic in here. The head-up display is pretty good as well. And of course, it's going to sync with your Google Maps. Now, Google Maps is in here because it has Google built in. It's not being run off of Android Auto, which is unfortunate. Android Auto is not even an app here within Volvo products, only Apple CarPlay. So that's a big miss for me, because let's say I wanted to own this vehicle long term, I would have to keep subscribing to the Google built-in to get Google Maps services instead of just using my phone to display it on the screen. Speaking of the screen, it's still good, but you know, it's not as snappy. I was just in the new MDX, which is a competitor to this. It costs about $75K, the Type S, and I can't talk too much about driving impressions, but it has Google built-in, and it's a lot snappier than this system, and it's a little bit easier to use, in my opinion. I don't have climate control buttons, unfortunately. It's all through the touchscreen. Luckily, the auto system is fantastic in here, and it cools down really, really well in the Florida heat. The camera system's also pretty good. If I put it into reverse, it defaults into rear screen only. And unfortunately, I can't have 360 camera and rear screen up at the same time. So that's kind of a miss for me, but it's been like that for years on Volvo products. Right off the shifter, you have the volume knob, which is pretty convenient right here. And then also seek buttons to the next preset, for example, but they're also up here on the steering wheel. A couple defrost buttons, but this is the escape hatch for the felt lined glove box. Pretty spacious in there. Nice wood here on the dash. Materials, of course, are pretty great overall. The steering wheel in the Volvos, well, they're very simple. I would like to have a little bit more character here, maybe a little bit more luxury, but they are very pleasing to the hand, at least, even though maybe they're not the most luxurious to the eye. We have physical buttons here, which is pretty convenient. This controls volume, for example. This is presets. This is going to show you your driving data. And speaking of range, Volvo says somewhere in the 30s, mid 30s for range here on the XC90 plug-in. I'm at 34 miles right now, and it says I have 5 miles left. So we'll see when I go back to the gasoline after I run out of the full-on charge. We'll see how many miles I'm able to bag here. It's close to 40, which is pretty cool, pretty exciting. I didn't mention the panoramic roof. It is pretty fantastic in here. The sunshade blocks out a lot of that heat and a light if you don't want to have it, but it's kind of see-through too. So it brings in just the amount of light, even in the peak of day, to brighten up this darker interior. No digital rearview mirror, even though this mirror is fantastic. It's really big, and you can see the visibility of that rear window is fantastic. But if no one's back there, you can fold down those headrests. Headrest fold is an option right there. Okay, that did it for the second row, and unfortunately it doesn't look like it affects the third row. Again, remember, the third row has no power down or up, and maybe that makes sense why we don't have, I don't know, folding headrest in it. So the first part of our driving impressions is going to be an electric until we run out of that electric juice. Like I said, it says about 5 miles left, and I love driving this vehicle in pure mode. Pure mode is what it defaults to. You can take it off of that default so it starts in hybrid mode. Pure mode locks you into electric only. I just don't see the need of it, and the reason is there's a little gas droplet on the power meter here behind the steering wheel, and if you press the accelerator too much and you go past that little gas droplet, it will kick in the gasoline engine so you have more acceleration. But it's really easy, and in fact, I've been driving this all day today, or at least all morning. I haven't once needed enough acceleration to kick into the gas droplet. But when you need to, like, let's say, merge into traffic or something, you need to accelerate quickly and tap into that 455 horsepower, it's there. Instead of being locked in pure mode, it won't activate the engine whatsoever. Now, this air ride suspension does a good job masking the weight of the vehicle. We know all plug-in hybrids are inherently heavy. This is a large 3-row plug-in hybrid, so it's packing some weight. And most of the time it's pretty smooth. But these are 21-inch wheels, and when you do hit broken pavement, you're gonna feel it, even though we have a softer, cushier air ride suspension. We do have acoustic windows up here to also keep the sound down. So there's very little wind noise going on, even at higher speeds. Safety controls here, you just press this button and it automatically puts on cruise control, and you can adjust the pacing with these buttons on the left side of the steering wheel, how close or far behind the car will keep distance when radar cruise control is on. I drove it this morning. Well, you guys saw the 0 to 60. It does have adaptive front lights, so when you turn the steering wheel, the headlights move as well. Initially, it's kind of distracting because it's extremely sensitive. Just a little turn of the steering wheel and the headlights just swivel really noticeably, but I'm sure you would get used to it. So we're on our last mile of range here, and we've gone 37.8 miles. So the electric is about ready to run out, and then the turbocharged 4-cylinder with 312 horsepower so is going to kick on and do all the heavy lifting for us. The electric motor still will, well, it never turns off to my understanding. So the engine is always powering that rear motor once you run out of juice. So you always have that electric all-wheel drive assist. And then, you know, when you're just driving in fully electric mode, it drives only as a rear-wheel drive vehicle. The braking in here is absolutely fantastic. It's got a real hefty brake pedal feel to it. Very predictable, super smooth. Volvo has never disappointed with the brake feel. The steering feel, you have a couple different settings. Through the touchscreen, you can make it a little bit firmer. I always prefer to have it firm on a Volvo. And you also have a creep function. So if you want it to creep ahead like a gas car at a stop where you get off the brake and it just kind of pulls forward, you can have it behave like that. I like how Volvos are set up standard that don't have creep. So you know, it pretty much has auto brake hold. And it's very predictable, it's very smooth, and makes low speed maneuvers like super pleasing. It's never a chore to come to a stop or be stuck in stop and go traffic because of the ability to turn off creep, which is fantastic here. Right now I'm in hybrid mode. Like I said, I prefer starting in hybrid mode because you do have access to the gasoline engine if you need it. You have power mode, which is the sport mode. To me, I don't know any differences between the two, but in power mode, it keeps the gasoline engine all the time for better response. So you always have that instant on tap gasoline engine power and torque. There's an off-road mode and a constant 4-wheel drive, which will also force the engine to be on at all times. So it says I have 0 miles left, and I have crossed 39.2 miles. And so now we're going to get into the gasoline engine. And it keeps pulling pretty hard. I really love this powertrain. It's one of my favorite powertrains amongst all manufacturers. It's silky smooth, it's quiet, even when the gasoline engine's on, and the gasoline engine sounds good. It gives me no vibrations even when it's at full tilt, that little 2-liter. It's just so smooth and so satisfying, and you have that electric response all the time from the rear motor, even when you run out of juice. Pedal down, you get that initial shove from the back, and then it takes a while. So I will ding it. Even though it's one of my favorite powertrains, it's not the most responsive because if you put the pedal down, the 8-speed auto still needs to figure out which gear to pick before the gasoline engine gives you that smack of power and torque. All right, so not the most responsive, even though that electric motor chips in right away, but it's only 100 or so horsepower chipping in right away, and you're waiting for that the cavalry to arrive with the 300 horsepower sitting underneath the hood. Volvo's committed to battery electrics, and they don't seem to want to improve too much their gasoline powered lineup, even though their hybrids are crushing right now. Hybrid sales across the industry are, at least in the United States, are doing excellent, and Volvo's battery electric options are floundering. So the EX90 is coming out, and I just read something that not all the features are going to be available at launch, so people are going to be waiting to buy that vehicle. I know they will come over the air update some of those features that are not available at launch, but why buy an $80,000 product that's missing features? You know what I mean? So I think people will just wait on the EX90. In the meantime, you could get this XC90 for about the same price. It won't be quite as fast and maybe not quite as big on the inside, but the XC90 Recharge here kind of gives you that electric experience up to 40 miles in my testing. And then you have is unlimited range essentially with the gasoline engine. You can fill up anywhere at any gas station for an additional, it's telling me 400 miles of gasoline range. And I love this silky smooth brake pedal in here. It's always a pleasure bringing this vehicle to a stop. And I can get off the brake pedal a little bit early, and the vehicle, because the creep function's off, it kind of has a really smooth transition and it stops the vehicle itself. My foot's off the brake pedal right now, I'm just relaxing. And I can even creep myself. So if I want to just press the gas pedal a little bit and move forward a couple feet and get off, it just kind of stops itself really smoothly. I love it. Super predictable, feels very premium, very luxurious. And that's, this Volvo, even though it's so old, long in the tooth, yes, they updated the T8 plug-in hybrid powertrain, what was it, 2-3 years ago, with a bigger battery, more range, more electric assist. Yeah, it's great, it's fantastic, but in terms of the exterior looks, the interior technology really has not changed, all right? So can I still recommend the XC90 plug-in hybrid in 2024? And the answer is yes, it's still fantastic. And it's smooth, it's luxurious, it looks regal, it feels regal. I need to put my massaging seat on here just to remind me of how fancy I can feel in here. And the gasoline engine's chipping out right now, or chipping in. I'm not chirping out, but it can chirp out. I definitely can spin some rubber. It's just so smooth. You don't even hear the engine. It's fantastic. Sound system's fantastic. I wish this was updated. This is annoying. I wish it had Android Auto. I wish it did like the 360 camera and the backup camera at the same time. So there are things that Volvo could absolutely update in here if they wanted to, give it some of the technology the EX90 has, for example. But yeah, it's still worth buying, even though it is expensive. It is getting a little dated. In terms of luxury, it gives me just about everything I could ask for. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Thank you, Volvo, for sending me the XC90 Recharge. Cannot wait to try out the EX90 when it's in the press fleet here. That vehicle, I believe, is built in the American plant in, I think it's South Carolina, where they just killed the S60 sedan in favor of the EX90 3-row behemoth of an electric SUV. But, all right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe for more Volvo reviews, and have a great day.